Hey, Survivor! Welcome to episode 75 of the Vibrant Survivor podcast. Today, we're going to talk about navigating the narcissist's courtroom tactics. But before we do, let's take time to center ourselves with a 4-4-8 breathing exercise, if you'd like. Inhale deeply for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 8. Ready? Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How does it feel to slow down? Breathe intentionally and focus inward. Remember, self-regulation is key for healing. Now, grab your notebook and pen, and let's dig in. Hey, Survivor! Welcome to the Vibrant Survivor podcast. Do you want to disconnect from a narcissistic or toxic situation and heal? Are you Googling how to identify a narcissist, narcissistic abuse, and boundaries? Are you feeling stressed and lonely while trying to avoid being sucked back in and lied to again? Hey, I'm Lesley. As a busy wife and mom, I fell for the lies and manipulations of narcissists. I wasted my time, talents, and money on users who kept moving the goalposts. I wanted real relationships and business opportunities and to enjoy life with my family. Instead, I struggled with anxiety, panic attacks, and insomnia, and I couldn't trust my body or anybody until I took a holistic approach to healing. In this podcast, you'll find tips for healthy living, trauma healing, and boundaries so that you'll have the freedom, confidence, and inner peace to respond, not react, after narcissistic abuse. Take a deep breath in, let it out slowly, and just relax. This time's for you. Hey, Survivor! Are you tired of feeling exhausted, stressed, lonely, and stuck in narcissistic relationships, and you just want closure and healing? I spent years rationalizing toxic relationships and dysfunctional environments in the name of community, connection, and career. As a result, I wasted my time, talents, and money on users who kept moving the goalposts. One of the worst was an alleged murderer who discarded me after I caught him lying, stopped helping him for free, and held my boundaries. Even though I dodged a bullet, I felt depressed, ashamed, and I doubted myself. I want you to know that you don't have to suffer in silence, feel alone, or crazy anymore. Come and experience the power of creating your own closure without the permission or participation of the narcissist. I've been no contact for over 4 years now, and I've grown personally and professionally. I have more clarity, stronger boundaries. I'm building a life and business that I've always wanted and enjoying real relationships. I know you want to break patterns of getting into toxic relationships, even if you don't mean to. And it feels so good to disconnect from dysfunction, set and hold boundaries, provide closure for myself, and focus on self-care, and to empower my kids to do the same. Go to closurecoachingsession.com right now and get ready to heal after narcissistic abuse. I'm not a lawyer, nor have I played one on TV. But navigating narcissism in legal settings is a tricky business. Literally. This week, I was in court to support Preston Lord's family on their journey to justice. And after everything that's happened, some people still don't seem to understand the gravity of it all, let alone want to acknowledge or own it. Now, I know that folks have to do their jobs and others have to play their roles, but I'll be honest with you, it was hard to watch and even triggering at times. Ultimately, I wasn't surprised at what I saw or heard, so there I was sitting in the gallery with other supporters and the family, 4-4-8ing and watching the drama unfold. Here are 2 primary tactics the narcissist uses in legal battles, along with some tactical tips. Number 1, playing the victim. Narcissists are master manipulators who will portray themselves as the innocent party, even when they're the ones who cause the harm. They're in survival mode, and the goal, or a goal, is to avoid the pain and shame of sitting with the discomfort brought on by their behavior. So in a courtroom, they might shed crocodile tears, they might make up stories of victimhood or exaggerate minor grievances to garner sympathy and support. Now, this could be from the judge, or say in the hearing that I was in this week, garnering sympathy and support from other attorneys. There were several defendants in this case, so there were a ton of defense attorneys. And one of the high-powered attorneys of one of the wealthier suspects was commissioned by the suspect's father to present a grievance to the court, and it had to do with allowing the media to have cameras on during the proceedings and film the suspects. And the concern was that if the suspects were being filmed in their jumpsuits and prison attire, basically, and juvie attire, that they would be painted in a certain light, shackled, suited up in jumpsuits and juvie shirts and slacks. It would just fuel a lot of preconceived notions and all of that. So they wanted to not have the cameras filming, and this high-power attorney presented this to the judge and to the court, and all of the defense attorneys lined up behind him to amen. Yes, me too. I agree. What he said, I second that. So that was brought up. And the irony in this, Survivor, is that cameras, specifically on phones, are one of the main elements that got the suspects in trouble in the first place. They were doing things that they weren't supposed to be doing, and they were filming it and posting to social media, allegedly. You know, terrorizing victims, bullying, harassing, and allegedly assaulting victims, and posting it on social media, sharing it in Snapchat groups. So they're not camera shy, and they are very familiar with videography through the phones, and had been doing so over a period of a couple years. So there was kind of an irony in the attorney bringing this grievance to the court. However, the judge heard him out and addressed it before the hearing started, and basically shot for the middle. He didn't say they couldn't be there, but he instead provided some parameters for them to film that included making sure that the camera was off when the suspects entered the courtroom so that they wouldn't be filmed walking across the room and taking their seats in shackles and jumpsuits, etc. But he didn't completely ban the camera. He said, hey, you can start filming after they've entered, seated themselves, and keep the camera pointed away. That way there's still transparency. And he even went so far as to say that the transparency of being able to have the media in the room recording what was happening would also help to make the public feel more at ease that the justice system's working by putting it out there and not trying to hide. So it was very interesting the way that it played out. But boy, this high-powered attorney really was working it. He went as far as to refer to the camera as a sort of gun being pointed at him and his client, as well as the other defendants, which is a bit extreme, but he was working it. The other thing that came up was the distribution of evidence. and making sure that the defense attorneys were given all of the evidence that the prosecutors had. And one of the things in particular was video. Speaking of video, there's a lot of video. And the attorneys were complaining about the mounds and mounds of video that they have to comb through that had already been handed to them, and there was like more coming. But the way that they presented it, it just made it sound like, oh no, your system crashed because you had all these videos to download. And a lot of the video is evidence, some of which is from the defendant's phones and from witnesses and so on and so forth. But they were kind of whining about having these overwhelming amounts of video, just terabytes of video sent their way that was crashing systems and that they had to go through, and it was kind of like a woe is me moment. And again, the irony is that this all kind of came about because a lot of alleged criminal activity by the suspects was recorded on social media. So there's a lot. So for them to be whining about it and commenting on when they might realistically be able to finish going through it all and what would be a reasonable trial date, just there was an irony in that. I'll just say that. Some tactical tips when you're dealing with the narcissist playing the victim in a legal setting. Staying grounded in your truth. Trust your gut. Allow yourself to know what you know. Don't let the narcissist theatrics sway you from your reality. And document everything. Keep records of any interactions, incidents, communications to counteract any kind of false claims that the narcissist may make. In the example of the cameraman, someone said that at the end of the hearing that the high power attorney approached the cameraman again or said something to him, and that would be a great moment for him to pull his phone out and to open the notes and to take some notes on what was said to him, what time, day, how he felt, what he said in response or how he responded, just so that he has that on him, so that for the next hearing, if it comes up or if the judge is like, hey, how are we doing? Let's check in about this whole media thing, then he's got notes about what happened from his perspective and anything that was said to him and how it made him feel in the moment. He doesn't have to have that burden of trying to remember 45 or 60 days later. And then seek support. Surround yourself with trusted friends, family members, or even professionals who can give you that objective point of view and emotional support during legal proceedings, because it can be really stressful. And you want people that you trust around you in your corner who are maybe not as closely tied or as maybe as triggered. It's all triggering, but maybe not as triggered by what's happening, not in as close a proximity as you are. And that can really be helpful. Number 2, playing the aggressor. So I talked about the narcissist playing victim. On the flip side, narcissists can also resort to aggressive tactics when they feel out of control. And this is to regain a sense of control, whether it's real or perceived. They may feel like someone is gaining the upper hand in legal proceedings. And of course, they love to play the social dominance game when someone has the ability to expose their behavior or even threaten their image. They may use intimidation tactics. They may resort to manipulation or even legal loopholes to assert dominance and maintain some sense of power over their victims. So in the hearing that I was in this week, the high power attorney who brought up the media grievance to the court, which I personally thought the judge handled very well. I thought he was very fair and did a really good job of shooting for the middle, not completely folding, but like really being reasonable and upholding the First Amendment and all that good stuff. Now, in continuing to argue his point, this same high-powered defense attorney went as far as to state that at the rate things are going with the media coverage and cameras in the courtroom and suspects being filmed, along with all the other chatter that's happening on the internet, social media, etc., different groups online, that they really were at risk of not being able to have a fair trial, and they were just going to have to look at moving it somewhere else. And it was really interesting because in all of that, there is the irony of the fact that posting alleged criminal activity on social media was one of the root causes for everyone being in court this week and in the weeks to come. So this attorney continued to argue and flex, and of course the other defense attorneys came in right behind him, echoing, amening, seconding, etc. And a couple of us were chatting about it later, and we were talking about the fact that we really were not surprised to hear that, because that would, that kind of falls in line with the way that this particular attorney operates. This is how he gets down. And so it was interesting that he threw that card out there. He was working it. And someone even said, like, yeah, he was working all the angles, and even went as far as to put that out there. Like, well, we're going to have to just move it somewhere else. We're already at risk, and it's just going to have to move somewhere else. We're not going to be able to pick a jury and da-da-da-da. And he was just getting kind of aggressive with it. And the judge came through with a reality check of just the nature of the world we live in now, with social media, online activity, and people having conversations online, people being online, information being accessible online. And again, he shot for the middle, and he also presented the opportunity for any of the attorneys to revisit their grievances in future hearings and to check in a sense, at a later time. How are we doing? Where are we with this? How's it going? And he said that if they had any additional grievances, that they could bring those to him at that time. But he shot for the middle and made a very fair call, I thought, today. A lot of us thought it was very fair. But left the door open for them to bring additional grievances. And I suspect that there will be more. In the meantime, it was just interesting to see all of that play out. Some tactical tips here would include setting clear boundaries. Establish and communicate your boundaries firmly and assertively. Don't succumb to the narcissist's attempts to intimidate or manipulate you into submission. And focus on self-care. Prioritize your mental and emotional well-being by engaging in self-care practices. Even in the midst of legal proceedings, you can breathe. You can breathe quietly. You don't have to sigh and and all of those things, but you can breathe quietly and calm your brain and body even in the midst of it all. Maybe doing a room scan, checking in with what you see in front of you around the room, just to help to ground you in reality. Practicing mindfulness. Maybe there's a lull, or there's some other activity going on where you can just really go inward for even a minute or two to help ground yourself. Include some things that bring you joy or relaxation, or engage your other senses. For example, even bringing some of your favorite mints, or something where you can just let your favorite mint dissolve in your mouth and engage your taste buds. Or say a lozenge or something that you enjoy that way. Something even that simple maybe you can quietly chew a piece of your favorite gum. No popping, but just even something that simple can bring you joy and relaxation. Or if you're a family member of a victim, Maybe there's a certain object that is meaningful to you that you can bring, that you can hold, or something that you can, a photo, a locket you can wear that you can maybe grab, just rub between your fingers or in your hand, that can really calm you down in those moments where you need to focus and engage, even if you don't feel like it. You can also utilize legal support by enlisting the help of competent professionals who understand all the intricacies of dealing with narcissistic and other difficult personalities and can advocate for your rights effectively. And furthermore, there are victim advocates in the court systems. And I went to a Citizens Academy recently at our county attorney's office, and I was really impressed with the resources that they have available to support victims during these times when they have to show up to court. They have to hear really difficult things and look at really graphic images, see suspects who were allegedly involved in them losing their loved one, like in Preston's case with his family. There are advocates who sit next to victims' families in court. They have animals, they have dogs that can support the victims if they have to testify on the stand. Just all kinds of resources that can really help to facilitate having to participate in legal proceedings and dealing with narcissistic and other difficult personality types. Let's recap 2 primary tactics the narcissist uses during legal battles. 1, playing the victim, and 2, playing the aggressor. Remember, when they feel like you've tricked them, the narcissist plays the victim. And when they feel lesser, the narcissist plays the aggressor. You are resilient, worthy, and not alone, survivor. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. If this podcast has helped you understand who and what you're dealing with, sharpen your discernment, and move forward on your healing journey, share it with another survivor. Help me help others by leaving a review for the show. And let's connect on social. Take a screenshot, share it in your IG stories, find and tag me at The Vibrant Survivor, and I'll share your post too. I look forward to connecting with you on IG and seeing you back here. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. Know who you're dealing with, know who you are. Take care, and I'll meet you back here next week. Bye-bye.